this is a great news, not just for us, of course, for me personally, for my family, for my brother David, but this is a great news for Canadians. Because if I would fall, if my brother would fall, if Chris Scott would fall, then you're next. And that's a scary notion. And I want to thank you, everyone that is supporting the Rebel News, everyone that have seen the story and chipped in. Without you, the viewers, the people, the good people of Canada, this would not be possible. I would be still probably in prison or hammered without mercy if it was not for your support. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, in behalf of my family, behalf of my brother, my wife, my children. Thank you, big thank you for standing for liberty, for freedom.
Pastor Artur Pawlowski drew the ire of health officials and government authorities alike for daring to open his church, feed Calgary's homeless, and continue to serve as a pastor despite COVID-19 restrictions. He was maligned and vilified, very often labeled as a firebrand, but a Alberta Court of Appeal decision went a long way to vindicating him and vindicating his struggle for freedom and for his fundamental rights. To get a reaction from Pastor Artur Pawlowski himself on this incredible court success, I joined him at his home.
Adam Soos here for Rebel News, and I'm on location here with a man who needs no introduction, Pastor Artur Pawlowski, who today received a massive win from the Court of Appeals in Alberta. We spoke with Sarah Miller as well as Chad Williamson, who was defending Chris Scott on effectively the same charges, about the legal perspective. But I wanted to speak to you today about the sort of personal perspective, the personal story, and how this has affected you. After everything you've been through, all the incarcerations, the roadside arrests, the arrests at the airport, abuse, malignment within the media, politicians criticizing you.
That individual, I understand, has been detained by the police because of multiple breaches of terms of release, court orders, as well as an alleged incitement to violence at the Coutts border crossing blockade. And so that individual has all of the rights of any individual under the Canadian legal system. They are presumed presumed innocent until proven guilty, of course, in our system of law. I would just suggest that going to a very tense, combustible situation and inciting people to be willing to die and commit acts of violence for their cause.
It's about time for Canadians to rise up and start roaring.
Let's go!
I'm talking about peaceful resolution. I'm not talking about guns and swords.
Very likely to have legal consequences, and I would suggest that nobody is above the law. No politician, no person that calls himself a pastor is above the law. The rule of law applies equally to everybody in our system of the rule of law.
How much vindication are you feeling today with the Court of Appeal saying, no, this is madness from the get-go?
I would just want to scream, finally, Adam. Finally. I mean, I even have, shivers here. Like look, my hair is standing up. Finally, after 2.5 years of being subjected to tyranny straight from the Soviet Russia, North Korea, and China. We are providing necessities of life to those that you and your bosses refuse to provide. You got all kinds of events happening right now, and yet the Calgary's finest are not bothering them. This is the hypocrisy of this city. This is the hypocrisy of our wonderful, fearless leaders. Where is Naheed Nimshi, the mayor of this city? I mean, what they have done to me, my brother David, so many arrests, solitary confinements, sleeping on concrete, like the arrest after the Germain or the John Rook's order and David Gates. We spent 3 days and 2 nights on concrete. I don't know if people can comprehend what I'm saying, but that's no fun. And especially there's no fun in this if you are innocent, if you have done nothing wrong. What did I do, Adam? I just did what is a definition of my job. I'm a pastor. I opened the church. Well, I incited people to come to the church. That's what I do. I want people to come to the church. If you're hurting, if you're needy, if you're suicidal, if you're depressed, if you're hooked on drugs or alcohol, come. We'll pray for you. We will show you another way. And take it or leave it. It's your choice. So hearing the news today, I was speechless first, which I know it's hard for the people to believe it. I talked to Sarah Miller, our lawyer, thanks to you, and thanks to you for supplying our lawyers and incredible lawyers. I said, I can't believe it. I was waiting for like half. Let's give a little bit to God and let's give a little bit to the devil. But when I learned that this is the total vindication, I stopped talking. It's like, seriously? Like 100% win? Everything?
Yeah.
It was very hard to believe it, because I'll tell you why. I think I've lost in my heart, I've lost hope in justice system. I think something happened in my heart that I thought that that's it. We're done. They all are one party, chirping the same song, which is tyranny. We've lost check and balances. We have just one party, and either you follow the tyrants or you will be destroyed. And that's how I look at the court system, and especially what John Rook did, what David Gates did, and what Adam Germain did. I said, that's it. It's over. It's done. The politicians are in it. The judges are in it. The health agents are in it. The police is being used as gangsters, uniformed gangsters, a muscle for the biggest mafia that we have seen in the past decades. And this decision is like, wow, I can't believe it. Finally, surprised, but finally something positive, something good is happening.
Yeah. Well, and it's incredible. I know lots of people were sharing that sentiment, and I know Sarah Miller, Chad Williamson, who we also spoke today, who was defending Chris Scott, shared the sentiment that they hope, at least on the appeal level, the courts get this right, because if they don't, the country is in serious trouble. Do you think that this might signal that they are coming back to their sentence, and maybe the rule of law isn't completely gone in Canada?
I hope so. I think this is a great precedence. I think this is the greatest story or a news that we have seen so far in 2022. I believe that now the Crown prosecutors and other judges and the police and the chief of police and the politicians will get the message, well, maybe we should be more careful right now. We can't just walk on trample on top of people's rights just as we please. We are, after all, not pharaohs, and those people are not us slaves. That there's still some sanity in the court system. So when I read that today, when I saw what happened, I'm thinking this is a great news, not just for us, of course, for me personally, for my family, for my brother David, but this is a great news for Canadians. Because if I would fall, if my brother would fall, if Chris Scott would fall, then you're next. And that's a scary notion.
Now, this resolves a lot of the very serious sort of sanctions, gets rid of a lot of that, and very much, as I spoke with Sarah Miller today, the hope is that most of the charges that you're facing still extended from this original court order, or this violation of the court's orders, contempt of court charges, or at the very least were affected by that. So logically, there should be sort of a domino fall, and we should see some of the other charges go away. So that is very good news. We'll see what happens on this Critical Infrastructure Defense Act thing. But with all of this, looking back with this major victory in your pocket now, looking back on everything you've been through, would you change a thing? Was it all worth it?
100%. I mean, I don't just look at myself or you, I look at the children. I have 3 children, as you know, and of course we have a church filled with children, and from time to time I will look at them, and this would always come back to my mind. What kind of a nation I'm going to leave behind? What kind of inheritance I'm going to pass to my children? is going to be hell on earth, just like I grew up under. It's going to be a tyranny. One law for me, one law for thee. The politicians can do whatever they want. Sky Palace parties, whiskey, flowing, without limits, and flying left and right, and stealing and robbing and raping us on a regular basis. Is that the future I'm going to leave behind when I'm gone? No, that's not what I want. So everything I've done fighting against this tyranny was worth it, Adam. The prison, 16 arrests, 16 times I have been arrested already fighting for my rights, and the COVID insanity, the big lie, all of that. If I look back, every single thing I did it from my heart. It was not calculated. I did it because that's how I felt, and I would not change a thing. Another thing that I wanna say is that everything that happened to me in prison was triggered by that decision, because the Crown Prosecutor, as you remember, was portraying me as this great lawbreaker. Look, Judge, there is a conviction already. He is guilty. Look, he broke the law. He has total disregard to the law and order, and we cannot allow this terrorist, this evil, wicked man, just roaming the streets. Canadian society would be in extreme danger if this guy is walking free. So everything, put it this way, the germane thing was the foundation to forward the tyranny on me personally and on others. Now they've lost that foundation. So here's what I'm hoping is going to do, that they're going to just let us live our lives free, and they would start to respect our fundamentally guaranteed rights, our Constitution and the Criminal Code of Canada. And our Constitution, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, starts with a preamble that states that whereas Canada acknowledges the supremacy of God, leave the pastors alone, leave the clergymen alone, leave the Christians alone. This country was built on Judeo-Christian values, the supremacy of God and the rule of law. We're not criminals. Those that did this to us are the criminals. And I hope one day we will be able to go after the real villains and charge them for the crimes that they have committed.
Now, on that front, some politicians will come out outright, like not necessarily to name some, but some UCP leadership candidates have said you're owed an apology. They will personally come around apologizing to pastors. Something needs to be done. Others, current politicians and leadership candidates federally and provincially, have simply said, well, this is just a judicial process. It has nothing to do with us as politicians. That seems like hokum. I don't think anyone believes that. What is sort of your biggest hope or biggest aspiration, or what you think might need to be done first for this province to move forward to heal? Not necessarily for you to guide new leadership, but what do you think Albertans are calling for most?
You know, I'll tell you, I don't think Albertans are concerned about horse dewormer or vaccine conspiracy theories. I think Albertans are concerned about bread and butter, mom and pop issues.
A church in Edmonton recently received an $80,000 fine for politely turning away AHS inspectors during church services. Since the case is decided, you should be able to comment. Do you feel that sentence is justified?
I don't know anything about the case. All I'll say is nobody is above the law, not politicians, not pastors. And if, municipal fire department shows up to do a fire inspection, I don't care whether it's a business or a church or a government office, folks should cooperate. I think the same should apply to health regulators. So, the court, but I'm not going to criticize a judgment or a court when I don't even know what the judgment is. Thank you.
But what do you say to maybe people out there or politicians who believe that this was just the regular natural course of law?
Of course, it was not. And by the way, for the people that are watching this, the politicians can end this tyranny just like that. They have that power. Everything comes from the top. And there is this famous English saying that the fish stinks or starts to rot from its head. We have a very rotten head in a federal, provincial, and municipal government. And it goes and spreads for the rest of the body. The judges will not do this to us if they would not get directives from the politicians. The AHS would not act like the Nazi Gestapo of today if they would not get their orders from the politicians. So everything starts and ends with the politicians. They have the power. The Minister of Justice, which, by the way, is like from the movies. You know who the minister is? It's Taylor Shandro, the very man that I embarrassed by kicking the Nazis out of our church, and I called his hypocrisy, because remember, Chandra was the very man that partied with the whiskey with his boss Jason Kenney 2 days after I was arrested and released from prison facing criminal charges for just having a church. So those boys are very corrupted, evil, and hypocritical, and yet he is rewarded like the good Nazi. He's rewarded with the highest position in the land, which is to be a Solicitor General and a Minister of Justice. Do you truly believe that there can be justice for a man like me that embarrassed this man and showed his hypocrisy? So this is the problem we are facing. If they wanted to, this whole thing could be stopped just like that. But they don't want to, because for them it's personal, Adam. You know that, I know that, and I believe that you also know that. This is personal. They hate anyone that dares to oppose them and anyone that dares to expose them. And they have been exposed. The snakes are in the open. We can see them clearly. We know who is who. Now the question is, what are we going to do about those snakes? Do we truly want to vote for them again?
So I guess just finally, for folks out there, these legal battles wouldn't be possible if not for people's donations at saveartur.com. What do you say to folks out there who've contributed and made this possible and will continue to make your legal resistance possible?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, the Rebel News, for covering the story. I mean, it's incredible that we have a media outlet that is willing to tell the folks the other part of the story. You're the true news reporters, because what we're observing right now is propaganda, and I don't call them reporters anymore because they're not reporting the news, they're cooks. They're cooking stories. And I want to thank you, everyone that is supporting the Rebel News, everyone that have seen the story and chipped in. Without you, the viewers, the people, the good people of Canada, this would not be possible. I would be still probably in prison or hammered without mercy if it was not for your support. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, in behalf of my family, behalf of my brother, my wife, my children. Thank you, big thank you for standing for liberty, for freedom.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. Wonderful to be able to share this great news. Looking forward to more updates and hopefully more good news moving forward. I'm sure you and your family are ready to just get back to the normal life, feeding the homeless, doing your job as a pastor, and taking care of this community you love so much. Pastor Artur Pawlowski, thank you so much again for your time. Always being willing, able to speak with us. People are so happy to be able to hear your story with an outlet that's willing to share it and not mischaracterize or color you in the wrong way. And as always, for everyone out there at home, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Adam Sos.
So my fellow Canadians, my friends, patriots, I want you to know that my troubles are not over. After this major appeal victory, I am one step closer to my liberty, to my freedom. However, the fight continues. I am still on house arrest. I'm still facing multiple trials, and for that, I need your support. If you're willing to support my fight, if you are willing to support what is happening right now with this struggle for our freedom, because it's not just mine, this fight is for your freedom as well and your children, please go to saveartur.com, saveart.com, and support me if you can. Be blessed.